Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Megan Ducucci, and I am the Economic Development Officer with the City of Kenora. I am joined today by my colleague, Melissa Shaw, who is a planner with our city as well. The City of Kenora is located in northwestern Ontario, approximately 30 minutes from the Manitoba border and 2 hours east of Winnipeg. Our full-time population is 15,000. However, in the summer months, our population doubles as seasonal residents are drawn to our water-based playground on Lake of the Woods. Our community is comprised of 3 individual municipalities, which were amalgamated in 2000. And in 2005, our primary employer, Abitibi Consolidated, ceased operations of its pulp and paper mill. And this had an incredible economic impact in the city, as I'm sure you can imagine. So prior to this, the city had already begun to position itself for economic diversification, and they began to invest in a process to develop a comprehensive downtown revitalization plan. And why this is important for the context of the discussion today is that the DTR plan also identified the opportunity for the first community improvement plan for our city. And this was included as an opportunity because it was intended to encourage private sector investment that would align with the objectives of the downtown revite and the public sector improvements that were being proposed. So the City of Kenora has, as of right now, 3 community improvement plan bylaws for 3 separate project areas. And these are the Harbortown Center, which is our downtown core, the former Abitibi Mill site, and the area of Keewatin. And of course, in order to be considered eligible, property must be located within one of these 3 specific project areas. So on the previous slide, I mentioned that our very first CIP was identified in the 2004 Downtown Revitalization Plan. And this was the CIP for the Harbortown Center. This plan was developed and implemented in 2007, followed by the former mill site CIP in 2011, and the community improvement plan for Keewatin in 2015. And all 3 of these CIPs were reviewed and amended in 2017 to include additional incentives such as those to support affordable housing and accessibility.
Now, in order to implement the objectives of our CIPs, we have a variety of grant programs available. Incentives do vary between the 3 CIPs, but on the screen, you'll see those categories that are included. So there's general grants, planning and design grants, signage, building facade, landscape, property improvement, application and permit fees, and accessibility grants. And then we do have housing specific grants, affordable living grant, seniors housing grant, mixed use development grant, residential conversion and intensification grant, and tax increment based grants to support housing. Our former mill site also has specific programs available to it, being the Brownfields Redevelopment Tax Assistant and Lee Building tax assistance as well. Now, annually, Council approves our budget requests, which has historically been $100,000 for disbursement over the Harbortown Center CIP, Keewatin CIP, and former mill site CIP. Council has appointed Heritage Kenora as a designate to approve many of the CIP grant programs, and those would include planning and design fees, signage, landscaping, and our most popular being building facade improvement. For those grants which include housing conversion and intensification, tax increment and tax assistance, and accessibility, those are approved actually by staff here at the City of Kenora within our development services team. The application approval process is fairly straightforward. Step 1, we do require pre-consultation. So staff such as Megan and myself will meet with applicants to review their projects and project eligibility. In order to deem an application completed, there are requirements. The details of the work being completed do have to be provided, an estimate of the associated cost, and that's to forecast how much in grant dollars they would be eligible for, a timeline for their completion, and plans or drawings illustrating the details. Step 2, there's the application review process. So it's either staff or Heritage Kenora who do review the application in relation to the CIP objectives and appropriateness of the project to access program funding. Step 3, application approval. Once approved, an approval letter is sent to the successful proponent, indicating the grant programs to which they have been successful and the total amount of funding they will be receiving. And step 4, payment of funds. So prior to the completion of project, it is important to note that city staff are fairly engaged with each application. We do monitor the progress of the applications within the 12 months they have to complete the project. So as an example, if we see that projects perhaps neglected to make application for site plan control if it's required, or if an application for building permit has not occurred, or if the scope of work just seems to be at a standstill, city staff do connect with applicants to keep projects on track and to ensure success of the CIP program. Once applicants have confirmed the project is completed, they demonstrate invoices, confirmation of payment, and then remittance is processed and grant dollars are distributed. So communicating the CIP is fundamental to the program. So currently our marketing strategies include things like our city website and social media, printed materials. So we do hand out postcards and new business welcome kits. New to last year, we now provide signage, which Megan will touch upon in future slides, and our CIP coffee break. So we recently hosted one last week to support our new implementation process for 2021. And again, Megan will touch upon this in future slides.
So we'd like to share a few success stories with you of applicants that have been able to access funding through these programs. And on the following slides, you will see some of the key facade elements that have been supported by the CIP. So these are things like gooseneck lighting, the sign banding, awnings, and things like recessed doorways. And the business community has responded tremendously to this program and has invested over $1.2 million in private sector investment over the last few years. And we'll talk a little bit more about those numbers in future slides as well. So the first success story that we want to share with you is Boreal Paddle and Apparel. So this is Jeff Kurtz. He owns this business located in the Harbour Town Center. This is a retail store on 2nd Street in Kenora. And in 2017, Jeff accessed the Harbour Town Center CIP, which supported planning and design fees, as well as facade improvements for his building. So this project really was a complete transformation of this property. Jeff was able to undertake improvements to both the front and rear facades and include a number of different heritage elements in this renovation. He also included an accessory ramp in the rear of the building to help improve access to his retail store. And on this next slide here, you will see before and after of his project. So the before in the bottom right, and then the larger photo shows the facade improvements once it was completed. This is Brenda from 901 Westside in Keewatin. So Brenda owns a little restaurant on Ottawa Street. And in 2016, she accessed over $21,000 to support planning and design fees, signage, as well as a facade improvement grant for her business in Keewatin. And again, this next slide here shows a before and after of the project. So you can see the before in the bottom right-hand corner, and then the larger photo shows the project and the facade improvement once it was all finished. So we have been undertaking some work to monitor the success of these programs. And this slide demonstrates a few of the performance measures that we have been tracking. So of course, a few of them include things like just monitoring the number of approved applications by total financial value each year. We also have been tracking any kind of impact to municipal property taxes, and Melissa is going to talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. As you saw in previous slides, we have encouraged applicants to submit testimonials and comments based on their experiences in accessing the program. And given the recent addition of affordable housing incentives, we have been tracking any kind of new residential units that have been created or supported through these programs.
In an overview of the applications we've received between 2017 and 2020, there have been a total of 29. So 19 within Harbour Town Center, 7 within Keewatin CIP, and 3 within the former mill site. And of those 29 applications, the City of Kenora has committed over $433,000 in CIP funding, which, as Megan has said, has resulted in over $1.2 million in private investment within our community. So our CIPs are intended to provide a proactive approach to the revitalization of the City of Kenora. The City of Kenora. So Harbour Town Center, Keewatin, and the former mill site. And as such, as Megan said, monitoring the update the uptake and performance of these incentive programs is paramount to the program. And so we do this on a regular basis. And Megan and I have been presenting to council annually to determine the overall effectiveness of the program and the relevance of the financial incentive component. So one of the qualitative tools that we use to monitor the success of the programs is to evaluate the increase in municipal property taxes. And that's based on the improvements to properties accessing the programs. So because of COVID-19, MPAC has deferred the 2020 reassessment. And so for the purposes of today's presentation, the evaluation of assessment increase is limited to CVA between 2012 and 2016. Nonetheless, we pulled 4 applications from Harbour Town Center and the Keewatin CIP that were made between 2012 and 2016. And this is so that we can ensure we can see if there was a change in assessed value, to have that opportunity to see if there's been any realized assessment increase. And so the graph above shows a general increase in overall value, which one would correlate to the private investment stimulated by the CIP program. So of these 4 applications that we looked at, the overall assessment increase from 2012 to 2016, and then applying that by the associated tax rate, we see an annual tax increase per property. And the total annual tax increase at the end of the 2016 4-year cycle for these 4 properties was over $4,300 in additional tax levy collected. So again, these 4 properties are just a small snapshot of the 29 projects that we have approved within our CIP program since the beginning of 2017. So once that 2020 reassessment is presented by MPAC, I think it'll be a very interesting exercise to measure the success of the program based on the increase in municipal property taxes for properties which have accessed our CIP programs.
So in 2020 specifically, we received 5 applications to the Community Improvement Plan programs. And these 5 applications represented all 3 project areas. So Harbour Town Center, Keewatin, and the former mill site. The City of Kenora committed over $120,000 to support these projects. And we were somewhat encouraged by this, given that we were in the midst of COVID-19, that we were still seeing strong uptake to this program that year. And we received similar demand in 2021. Our program was again oversubscribed this year. And so as a result of this high demand the last couple years, we are looking to make a few changes to the application and intake process moving into 2022. So we have typically received applications on an ongoing basis. So we haven't looked to deliver any kind of a timed intake process until now. And so we have launched for 2022 projects, a new submission process. And so applicants are required to submit their applications for 2022 projects from now until December 1st, so October 18th to December 1st of this year. And we are hoping to conditionally approve these applications pending council approval of our budget request for next year in December. And this will give applicants a full 12-month calendar period in order to deliver their projects next year. As Melissa mentioned earlier, we've also included a few new promotional or marketing ideas or opportunities for next year. So successful applicants will be provided with a sign that they will be asked to display on their property. It's just a big sign that says, this is a community improvement plan project. So we're really trying to showcase to the community the good work that these programs are doing. And then we will also be asking successful applicants to participate in a photo shoot with mayor and council to again showcase the success of the program as well as the success of their individual projects.
And as well, looking ahead, the City of Kenora is currently undertaking a review of our official plan. So an objective which we're considering for support under the new OP is the development of a citywide community improvement project area. So by amending the schedule within our current OP to designate the entire city boundary as a CIP area. So the benefit to this is it will enable development services the opportunity to expand the CIP programs and to ensure that they're carried out within other areas, other built up areas within our community. And this will encourage construction of affordable housing, ensure maintenance of our building stock, enhance the visual appearance of our CIP areas, and of course, to support private sector investment and strengthening of our economic base.
So we are going to stop this part of our presentation and hopefully turn it over to a video that we produced a couple years ago. Again, just another tool to showcase and promote the community improvement plans here in Kenora.